We're back.
We are.
How are y'all doing?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Good to be back in the room.
It is good to be back in the room. It's a Friday.
Friday. I can't go.
I know the song.
Movies that we can edit in. Yeah, looking forward to this one. It's how to develop others effectively.
Yeah.
Which is, if we can master that, we've got everything figured out, haven't we?
I think we've had plenty of opportunities over our life to develop others, haven't we? As like we've been developed ourselves. We've all had different opportunities, especially in management and leadership, where sometimes I've led others, and I probably years ago I made lots and lots of mistakes doing so as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
For yourself, dinner, out to add?
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think we talked about this off air. Sometimes you don't necessarily feel like you are leading and developing others effectively, but sometimes that can just come across to other people as past experience, not necessarily. It's not just skills, is it? We focus on developing other people based on skills, but it's actually, you can reverse that, and it could just be past experiences, which has helped me lead a member of our staff at the minute.
Yeah, I think this tool is not really called a tool, it's developing other tools. So quite simply, I'll run through it. So I want you to imagine, Paul, a box. You know, it's got four sides.
Yeah.
I'll quickly run through the sort of high level. I do, you watch, which they say is...
So you do... You would do the task, and I would sit there and watch and observe and learn.
So in that instance, he's saying that you're unconsciously incompetent.
Unconscious incompetence, yeah.
In that area.
Yeah.
And then what's he say the next stage is?
So the next stage, we've got conscious incompetence, which is I do, you help.
Got it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Third one
is conscious competence, which is you do and I help.
Yeah, and what we're saying there is you're consciously competent about doing your job. So think of like three stages of life. At first, we're nothing like, we're like primates, aren't we? Monkey see, monkey do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you've got to watch someone do something, so you've got to watch them, and the other person's doing it.
Yeah.
Then you can maybe take it to the next stage where you're helping that person a little bit. They can do some of them tasks, and then you get into the third place where they can do it themselves, and you can just watch them do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Totally. Concept. But interestingly, on the Giant platform, they talk about the fourth stage, which is unconsciously competent, right?
Yeah.
And at first, I never made this realization, and I don't know if you guys have made that one. So, unconsciously competent is you do and I watch, right? But what's quite interesting is there's a lot of people, and you'll have these skills yourselves, so, where you can do something. And you'll have been, when you start first becoming a leader, you've got to start delegating tasks. But a lot of the time, you think it's easier if you do what?
Do the job yourself.
Why do you think that?
Probably several reasons, isn't there? I think personally it's because you can do it second nature without thinking about it. It's easier for you to do that task than it is to sit and invest time and teach somebody else how to do it, to take it off you. The other thing is you probably think because you've done it all your life, or you've done it for X amount of years, trying to teach somebody else, you think, well, if I do it, I'll do it better.
Would you add to that?
Totally agree. I've done that in many organisations, and a lot's in the past where you've done it yourself because it, like Dean just said, it's quicker. You want it doing your way. Don't mean it's the best way, but you want it doing your way. And I think sometimes it's probably us being lazier because it's easier for us to do it than invest in a person. It might take a little bit longer.
No, but you've both hit the nail on the head there, because, and the reason why I love this framework so much is it's the use of language there, unconsciously competent. And what he means by that, I've been reading a great book by John C. Maxwell, and it's called, what's the name of the book? The 5 Levels of Leadership. I was reading it at the weekend, and I'll just make some notes because I know we're going to have an upcoming podcast. And he's got a great quote in it. He says, "Nobody achieves anything great by giving the minimum. No teams win championships without making sacrifices and giving the best." So I'm thinking, and he starts talking about leadership in that, at first, leadership's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a bit, I remember way back in the virtual networking days where I was coming in helping you guys, and I said, "You're going to be a leader."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Scott, it looked at you, definitely, you could just see that you're a leader. And it was like we had a gun to your head, a barrel, looking down on a barrel. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%.
How did you feel when Scott said you're going to be a leader? We're gonna.
I remember roughly around the time we started working.
How many years ago was this properly? 10, 11? Something like that?
Yeah, it's got to be at least 10 on it.
Yeah. So how old were you being back then?
mid-20s.
Yep.
Yeah, 25-ish. And yeah, I think that for me, we'd always had a small team. There was just two of us. We grew to three. And then for Leon to come in 10 years ago at that time and say to me, my vision is we're going to grow to a team of X and you're going to be leading it. And I was just like, right, okay, yeah. And how we're going to get there. And then, you'll be leading a team of 5 or 10 people. I'm thinking, how do I do that? I ain't got the skills to do that. I'm not used to that. I'm just used to gathering work and doing it myself. I'm not used to passing on work and developing and bringing other people up with me. It's not something I'm used to. It's all new. So it was a massive learning curve. It's probably the hardest thing I've done.
I think, but what I was making the rationale when I was thinking about this podcast is you was unconsciously competent in your job role.
Yeah, it's like,
is that fair?
Yeah, it was my own beliefs, wasn't it? It's like you and Scott saw something in me that I didn't see myself, and I still don't to this day. It's one of them. It's something I'll always be working on.
Imposter syndrome. We were talking about.
You were talking about that off air.
Yeah, and I think at first it's bewildering. When we first said that you're going to be a leader, and we can see that you're going to be a leader, it's bewildering to hear. And when you just work it out who you are and what you are yourself, leadership sounds like a silver bullet, like a vague sort of confusing terms. And you start thinking, I need to even have more confidence than I've got now, and I ain't got any confidence now. That was the way I took it. I realised I was going to be a leader. Is that? Yeah,
and I think, again, we touched on this earlier. I'm helping bring on another leader that stepped up in the organisation. And it's amazing to see the reflection on myself, because what I'm teaching him is just things that I've learnt along the way, and he's asking me questions that I was asking myself when I was in his shoes. So it's great to see that go up, but I feel like for the first time I'm helping him with experience. It's
rather than just theory.
Yeah. So it's like I learnt all the theory, you've given me a lot of theory, I've done the courses, but then to get somebody who's stepping up into doing a similar role to what I'm doing, giving him problems that I've had and how I've overcome them. So just giving him real life examples has been one of the biggest leadership things I've done.
I love it. And John Maxwell talks about the 5 P's of leadership, right? And he talks about, think of it like a ladder and steps you've got to climb. And he talks about, number 1 is petition, because you've got to become a leader. And I always challenge this theory, and I always go back to sport on this ball, is you don't have to be put into a position to be a leader. I would argue, because I believe a lot of the times when I've become a leader is I was already a leader before someone asked me, if that makes sense. I was already doing it. So if I look at on a rugby field, I'd take the first carry.
Yeah.
When the team
set the standard.
Well, maybe not the standard, and that's a bit nice for me.
Set the tone.
Ball, but explain that from a rugby point of view about leaders, because we see leadership all the time on a rugby field.
So, leadership on the rugby field, like what you've just touched on, if you take the first carry into that game and you take it in fast and hard, get up and show aggression, the team's going to follow you. If you run in half-hearted and you don't give it 100%, the team, you're going to set the tone for the game. And I think that is in leadership, and especially in sport. I've always tried to lead from the front. I've always tried to be innovative on the rugby pitch and coaching different things. I remember taking...
Tell us we were bricks in walls.
I was telling you bricks in walls, and I heard that on Super League the other night, and we was talking about that how many years ago? 20 years ago?
Yeah, a long time ago.
I remember just something about leadership. In winter and rugby, I was always thinking of things different, training methods, what to do. And it was middle of winter. Nobody wants to tackle and run on a rugby pitch. So I remember taking these lot to swimming baths and doing aerobics. And there was these lovely old ladies of about 60, really enjoying it. And these lot just come running in and bombarding. So it was good, but it was something different. And we've always tried to be innovative. And even when you bring it into your business life, if you're trying to be innovative, and I think years ago, I had loads of confidence in my rugby ability as a coach and developing others. Then I come into the business world and I was totally opposite. I fell out my depth. I was struggling. We talk a little bit about
Imposter
syndrome. How have I got here? When am I going to get found out? And from somewhere where I was totally confident into somewhere where I felt totally alien and out my depth. It's been a massive learning curve, but I'm getting there now and developing others. I was a production manager for 32 years in an industry that I was I could tell you what was happening at the other side of the factory when I was at the other side. I knew everything. I had it all on the pulse. And I used to teach people on a daily basis, different methods, different policies, and doing that. And I was always, I think I was quite good as a leader in that environment, and I would take each member of staff through different procedures, and I would show them, and then I would let them do it, and then I would watch how they do it, and then let them go, and it made my job easy, but it was hard work at the start. And I totally agree with you, where I used to sometimes think I'll do it myself because it's quicker, but then again, it allowed me, because when the staff do get up to speed and when you do invest in them, it makes your job a sight easier as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. But just jumping back onto them 5 levels of leadership that Maxwell talked about, that ladder. So we mentioned position. So I want to make sure, I'm stressing, are we all in agreement that position, you don't have to be given the position to be a leader? Are we agreement in that?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, is that true? Yeah. And I think for any budding leaders or anyone listening in there, my best advice would be go learn about leadership and become a leader before you're asked. If that's what you want to, if that's how you want to progress, would you?
Yeah, I think it's like what we're just talking about in here with the way we're developing our staff at the minute. We're naturally spotting leaders, and it's not just based on the skills of the job. It's the people who step it up at the right times or when it matters. So it's not always the best technician, or it doesn't have to be the best person.
That particular role.
Yeah, it's somebody who's just willing to, what we pick up, it's just that person that's looking to, puts a little bit of extra in, goes the extra mile, willing to step up when it matters. Nothing's a problem, calm, composed. And we spot that, and it's like it's what you spotted in me back then, which I just didn't see. But now I'm at that level, and I'm creeping up the ladder, the leadership ladder.
You're on the top of that. You're on the top of the ladder. You just pretend you're not on it at times.
Yeah.
The thing I want to really dig into that as well, though, because it's so critical, like you're saying, is so we've got position. We're agreeing on that way. Second one, though, this is the really difficult one, though, and I've got this wrong before in the past. I got promoted to a shareholding director in a business really quick. And this business has been going for back in the 40s. It started, so it's got generation after generation. And I've worked in other businesses where there's been generation and generation. I've come in as a leader. I didn't get permission, so you got to go position, permission, because you got to get permission off that staff. And we've seen it with the storming, norming, performing going on. Yeah. And it's really difficult, I think, for if you don't understand that's a process. I think Maxwell explains it really well. You've got to go get permission. You've got to build rapport. It's got to be authentic. People won't stand for, and you mentioned this on a podcast a while ago, back in the day when you first started out in business, it was very, a boss was a boss, not a leader. A boss was a boss, and they didn't care about your mental health. They didn't care about, because not that they didn't care, they was unconsciously incompetent around them areas. Yeah. We didn't know, did we?
I think now, like we're doing this giant platform, and with self-development. There wasn't really self-development in them days. It was just you got yourself to a position, and then people, they didn't have the experience to develop the ones underneath them effectively. It was, this is how we've always done it. We used to hear a lot of the time. It wasn't the best way to do stuff. We could have been more innovative at the time.
You do well with that word this week, aren't you?
Do you like it?
You got it, yeah.
I learned it this week. I've been on a course.
You've been good.
And so, yeah, I can understand what you're getting at.
No, but I think the key part on that, though, is you got to remember, I was doing a talk the other day about how much data we produce, and I've said it multiple times, but there's a famous Google, Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google, and he said it was back in 2010 he did this. He just did an exercise, and he worked out when the internet was really starting to get going, in 2003, we'd started to make a bit of hay with it. His early days back in 2003. But in this talk he did back in 2010, he was looking at trends. And he said from the dawn of humanity to 2003, you imagine all the data and all the information that that around the world, how long would that take back in 2010 to create in 2010? And then they did some research, and they worked out it took them two days to create this amount of information, right? And I think it was two zettabytes, right? And do you guys know what a zettabyte is? I'm going to be technical here.
Very, very massive file.
Massive file
of data, yeah.
Right? And we're going to see here, right? Because sometimes I'm classed as a technology evangelist, aren't I? But I'm not that technical at times, right? And my job is linking something complicated and making it simple for people who are simple like me. Right, but Dean's very technical, you see. So he could tell you the software it runs on and everything. So I'm going to challenge him here. So then, running that forward, I thought I'm going to do a bit of research. So if it took 2 days in 2010 to create that much information as it did from the dawn of humanity to 2003, how long would that take? And I thought, I'm going to go to 2025 because we've got new technology coming out. So let's just roll forward. That's only a couple of years away. In 2025, it's predicted. How long do you think it would take to create that information?
Don't know, less time.
11 minutes.
Yeah.
11 minutes.
11 minutes, right? And in 2025, we're not that far off now, to be honest. And I think the COVID's even expedited that in there. We create 181 zettabytes, right? Do you know what 100? Try and give me a visual interpretation of how much that is, Dina. I'm going to challenge him here, Paul.
A zettabyte.
I've got him, haven't I? Got him.
I was learning about tech yesterday, and I don't know anything, do I?
If we put it, I'm going to have a guess. Let's say movies.
How many movies, Dina?
Zettabyte movies.
A Blu-ray DVD. I'll give you a chance. And if we had a stack of Blu-ray movies, how many Blu-ray movies do you reckon it would be?
I'm going to go about 500 million.
500 million. I don't know how many that is. But
I'm going to work this out.
We'll have to come back.
We'll come back and get an answer.
But I do know if we stacked up Blu-ray movies on top of each other,
and
went all the way to the moon, and it touched the moon, it'd be 24 stacks of Blu-ray movies.
Right, so probably a hell of a lot more than.
We don't know. I don't know. It's
500 million.
Someone who's listening can look at that. But anyway, my point being is, right, I'm giving you a visual representation. I'm taking something complicated, but right, you got it. And I think when we look at that, the world's changing. It's completely changing. I think and the reason why I'm stressing that point is you're saying that we didn't know back then. You didn't have YouTube. We're doing the giant platform. It's Netflix for leaders. That's what it is. We can watch a quick show. We watched one earlier today, didn't we? It took us 15, 20 minutes to go through it, and it's challenging our thinking. It's giving us tools and tool sets that we can take out onto the floor, can't we?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we've got it position, we've got permission, production. So production, he goes into talk about that is, as leaders though, we've got to do the work and we've got to put it in. I was thinking, when we look at this platform, I do, you watch, I do, you help, you do, I help. The fourth stage, I think you've got to be really sparing with that. And what I mean by that is, if you're a leader and you're unconsciously incompetent about what someone does underneath you, and you just let them get on with it, and you're not really taking interest in what they're doing, you can't support them.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the best leaders have got to learn how their staff and their team do certain roles, not so they can do it, but just to sort of challenge them so they can support them. Because I think a lot of us do start as unconsciously competent in what we're doing. We might get promoted and we might bring more skills in around us, and very quickly, and I see it in our industry more than ever, we're bringing people on, and some of our apprentices and our junior members of staff will be able to do things that me and you, and especially you, especially me, couldn't even comprehend doing, right? But we've got to go do the work and go do seminars and courses to get an understanding. So we're at least consciously incompetent.
Yeah.
And we can go in and we can monitor them and we can ask them, we can take feedback. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's just going back on the bit where you said, like, information at hand at the minute. It's like I have a one-to-one with one of our team leaders. So I'm trying to help develop him. So once a week, we spend an hour, go through any problems he's got with his leadership. Now, sometimes I get stuck. So back, I was saying, like, back 10, 20 years ago when we didn't have as much information at hand, now I can prep for this an hour before our meeting and I can just whiz onto YouTube and find these leadership theories and courses and
grab a framework like we've just got.
Yeah, just grab a framework and I've got that information at hand ready for when I come in. So not only does he think I'm fully prepared and that I'm prepared because I'm a leader, I'm not. I'm going out there, I'm looking for this information that I need to answer certain questions. And I think that's been key. So I can't imagine what it was like back then. But yeah, like I said, the other bit, the you do, I watch. That's the hardest part for me.
Yeah, you've really struggled with that one, haven't you?
Really struggle.
Talk about, we was trying to, when we was developing Dean, and we just did our business plan now. We're up to, I think there's nearly 15 of us now, and they're coming up to approaching, and that's gone from like 3 of us. Yeah. It's growing and growing, and we did this business plan, and we predicted that we're going to go to 30, maybe 40, right? We're going big, right? Why not? It's a dream, it's a goal. Let's go for it, right? Yeah. Let's build a great company. And the interesting bit though is we have to delegate more.
Yeah,
and it's the hardest bit. And what we did, and also I want to talk about, Giant talks about, it's all the time. It's about supporting your staff and your team, but also equally challenging them. And I want to talk about the challenge we set you when so you delegate. What we give you a KPI, didn't we? And what was one of the KPIs we gave you?
Ticket numbers.
And how many tickets?
I used to do about
sometimes 50 a day. You could do, couldn't you?
Yeah, a lot of tickets a day. That was when I was probably in my stride of been doing the most jobs I could in a day to help the customer, fixing things. And then Leon come in and was like, he'd seen this path, this leadership path. He knows where he wants me to go. He knows that I need to be in this seat to help the business progress on where we want the business to go. I didn't see that visually. I just thought, right, Leon said, right, just to let you know, this is where I want you to go, and you need to be doing 2 tickets a day. was like, well,
and I set a big goal, and I knew it'd take us years to get there.
yeah.
But I just remember your face, Dave.
I was just like, how am I going to do 2 tickets in a? I do 2 tickets in a minute. What am I going to do? And yeah, that was just. But again, it's a part of leadership. Leon had a vision and a path for me. I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it myself. I didn't know how to get there, and that was part of climbing the ladder. Just I needed to put certain processes and techniques in place in order for me to stop doing these tickets. I need to start processing certain tasks that I'm doing and spending time with other engineers, upskilling them on tasks that they should be doing rather than me, and tasks that once I'd done, I realised I was doing them better.
And seeing where you've come to now from where you was a year ago, a year and a half ago, would you have believed where you would be now?
No. Again, that's the...
And now you've got a vision to go forward in the year and a half.
And we've got a 10-year plan.
Yeah, 10-year plan.
It's weird because we had a one-to-one session a few weeks ago, didn't we? And
I've got some notes on that, actually. Yeah, I have a good deep about that because I think it's a good that we talk about that.
But it's the first time. I'm always used to thinking, how am I going to get there? I can't. And I've never asked that question. But on one of our catch-ups the other week, it was probably the first time I ever said, actually, what does the business look like in 5 to 10 years, and how am I going to help us get there? Do you know? Now I'm focused.
Where do I fit in? Where do I fit in? Where do I fit in?
So that's like a different change of mindset. From...
Yeah, it's like a different. Yeah, I wouldn't have asked that a couple of years ago. I was just too worried about not doing tickets.
And what was interesting, well, there's 2 bits I want to add to that. Is you roll that forward, don't you? And, so that's like 10 years ago. Well, I think it was probably 3 years ago that KPI came in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But we had a bit of a bigger team.
Yeah, about 3 years ago, yeah.
And I thought what was really interesting was, and I still giggle at this now, the 3 new lads we've recruited, what I found amazing is, well, not all young lads, are they? Got Rich in there, right? But what I'm saying is, Rich came in, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he recruited the other 2 lads. You didn't recruit them.
No.
You didn't train them. And I remember them starting. He was like, I don't even know what they're doing. And they was on the desk.
I don't even know his name.
He was on the desk doing things, right?
Yeah.
And Dean's got a place in there to help him develop in there. But like, how far we've come.
Yeah.
It's
I spotted it as a problem, and Leon was like, wait a minute. We was complaining that you had to spend all this time recruiting and developing. Now we've got somebody walking through the door and you don't even know they're starting. That's how far we've come. I was like, right, yeah, I get it.
get it. And I think that's where it gets fun. But I think really key, and this is really key, we've just been looking at our business plan and where we're going, and we've achieved our 5-year plan in 3 years, right? Which is great. But again, we're back investing in the business, back investing in the people, because leading people is very... We want to grow our own, don't we?
Yeah.
So that's mine and your Scott's vision.
Yeah.
We want the best people, want to pay them the best, want to have the best service, right? But linking into that, what was really interesting, Scott was on holiday, and I'm doing my 10-10-10 with Dean, and it was the first time he challenged me on our vision, because we've always had it laid out and we've always got it going on there. And I didn't, when you set these goals, they're so far, the goal we set was so big for us, I didn't think we'd get there in 3 years, especially through a pandemic and all the other bits. It's been hard. We've achieved it. The business plan's done. And he's saying where we're going. And for the first time, because I sit in the visionary role, don't I?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have the answers to him. And he sat there questioning me. I'm like, I don't really know. Because why it was difficult, it was, it meant that me and Scott had to go sit down and say, well, actually, what do we want? It's like anything in your jobs, in your careers, everything. It's like, what do we want personally? Because we've got to balance our business in between. Do we want it to be a lifestyle business for me and Scott? Do we want it to? Is it just going to be a startup, like it's more of a sole trader? Is it going to be what we call a value builder? So that's where we build systems and processes in a team, so the business can go on forever. You can have different generations in the business. I've got my nephew in the business. You might have Dougie in the business. All the rest of it. What we're building, or we're building an empire, and an empire is where we get external capital and we grow it. But all of a sudden, the business changes. It loses its identity in certain ways and other things, right? We'd not got that far. It'd always been Scott on his own on it, in terms of more of a value builder. It's a balance building in one way between his personal life and thingy. And then he wanted to get to the value builder, and I was doing the same in my own business. It was very similar. We said, well, actually, we want to be value builders. Why don't we combine like we did? But it made us go ask ourselves some questions. So we just did an off-site. I'd gone through and communicated the vision, the mission, the core values with you anyway. But we just wanted to look at where do we think we can go. So we've drafted up our sort of next 10-year plan. I'm going to go through it more with Dean in terms of the finer detail of operations and all Dean's sides of it to make sure we're all in alignment. But it triggered from, I asked Dean, it's called 5-question clarity, and it's a great tool if anyone's not heard of it, and I stress anyone to use it. And you can use it personally as well, I think. And I think we've used it at Man Club before as well. So 5 questions to clarity. So question 1 is, what are we trying to achieve?
Yep.
Yeah. And ultimately defining what success looks like. So if we look at that personally, Paul, to bring you in, I remember asking you that question, but way back when you were saying you weren't happy at Smales, and just think of that, tell that story today. You're at, there's a lot of jobs going again, a lot of redundancies, a big allegedly at that factory.
Yeah.
And again, that was you. How many years ago?
3
years ago, right? And how did you feel hearing that today when it was broadcast?
It was disappointing. It was upsetting still, because it was a massive part of my life. Sometimes I thought I'd have been there for the rest of my life. Admittedly, the last 2 years of my working life there, I wanted to get out and do other things, because I'd seen different things from doing the Man Club, doing talks in different companies. I'd seen different aspects, and you have your little bubble, don't you? I saw life outside that bubble, but I still believe if they would have been operating still, my division, I would have still been there moaning about getting out. And when I did get out, it's been a tough old journey, hasn't it? But
the first thing we did, didn't we? I remember doing it in your garage.
You challenged me in what I wanted.
Yeah, what are you trying to achieve?
Set my goals.
And what does success look like? We did it on that big whiteboard, remember?
Yeah, on a massive whiteboard.
Yeah.
And I believe I've still got that whiteboard in my garage, and I've still got the goals and challenges on the back of it. And when I look at that now, I wanted to build an office in my garden. Done. I don't use it very often now, which is good, thanks to you guys. And build a business, which I've done. And you look at that vision, and you said to me, what do you want?
Because it's such a simple question, that. But how difficult is that question, Dean?
To answer, it
took me a while.
Because he's asking me, and I flipped the question, where do I fit in? And I was like, well, what do you want? Where do you want to fit in?
Yeah.
And so that's the first question, where do I fit in? But then it's a leader's job to actually go away and define what success looks like. That's what we're working on that now in a minute. Second question is, if you're leading a team, but also to yourself, where do you fit in? And how does what I do impact the mission? Or if it's a business, everything's about the bottom line and revenue and retaining customers, retaining staff. Where do you fit in? Is that third one? I think this is one of the most difficult ones as a leader, but also personally as well. And I want to talk about this, is what are my boundaries? What boundaries have I got, and what resources? So let's look at Man Club. Man Club's a great example of this. I was looking at this earlier. We've got over 100 clubs. It's growing and growing and growing, and it never fails to amaze me. What would you say on that?
Oh, totally agree. Every time I was there on Monday night, and like you said, the club's growing, the people in it amazing. And I went to a club on Monday night, and I got a lift because car was in garage. So I went to a different club that I wasn't going to go to. One of the best nights ever. And
they always are. And I think
the development that the guys have had there.
Yeah.
And example, I wanted to do it on myself years ago. The clubs are miles better without me in them now.
I did the same too now with some KPIs.
Yeah.
But I think the key bit on that, though, is where I want to dig into that boundaries again. You've got to be tough with boundaries as well, though, and get over yourself, I'm going to say. And I'm going to use the Man Club as a great example here, because I know business is serious as well, but I'm going to say that Man Club we're dealing with saving lives out with people who are suicidal, right?
Yeah.
And so it's huge, but we're also got to protect people who are also there, because people who are there are suffering with mental health themselves, and also everyone's got mental health to protect. Everybody. It doesn't matter. You don't need to have mental health. We've all got mental health at times, right? I would argue, and I think we're all in agreement, are we?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but we put boundaries in place where Monday night, I always get phone calls late on Mondays and at times, but I have to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, because it would impact on my personal life, right?
Yeah.
And you've got the same. And some people are like, how can you do it? And I'm like, well, you haven't been there at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning talking someone down or doing something, and we can't protect everybody. We can't, right? So you got to set boundaries where Andy's Man Club is from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock on a Monday night, right? Yep. And we do our best endeavours outside of that.
Make their experience the best.
But we're just humans, aren't we?
Yep.
And I had a person ring me on the Tuesday. I've got someone and I'm going to pass him your number. Can you ring him and speak to him? I'm like, no. But what I can do, I can meet him on a Monday night and I can take him through them doors at this time. Tell me where he's going to be, and I'll make sure either I'm there or someone else will be there. And I think we really struggle, I think, as leaders, because I struggled with that one for a long time, a long time. But I think that's helped me get my head around that has helped me get my head around saying no outside of that. What would you say on that, Dean? Boundaries, because boundaries are hard.
Yeah, I mean, that must be tough. You know, it's hard enough for me on our support desk. If somebody comes to me for help, I want to give them that help. But yeah, like you say, for something like that where you're saving lives, but you're getting people approaching you about somebody in distress that needs your help, you've got to have that boundary, haven't you? There's resources there and there's that support in place at a certain time to help them. But I think it'd be so easy to just say yeah and make that call. And
we've done it, haven't we, over the years? We've done it. All of us have done it. I think everyone who comes into Man Club at times makes that mistake where they don't set a boundary in place. And it's a hard one, but there's also got to be, it comes back to that first question. What are we trying to accomplish and where do I fit in? And ultimately, when you start looking at your business or your personal, I think of looking at yourself, your own plan, your personal plan. You know, there's certain times I do certain things. You say today, how busy are we today? We've got to squeeze this in, we've got that in, calendar, right? Because when I go spend time, for me, my highest priority in life is I want to carve out as much time as I can spend with Evie, Blake and Zoe. That's my call. Yeah. Then I get to my friends and my family, like you guys, right? And it comes out like a cascade, right? But if we try and be everything to everybody, I think we'll be nothing to nobody.
I think Leon rang me up this. I'm growing my business and it's hard, but it's growing, innit?
It's fun, innit?
It's fun.
It's a challenge.
I'm on the journey.
You got problems, haven't you?
I'm on the journey, yeah. But I'm sorting it. But Leon rang me up and we always have that chat. And he said, you've got to learn to start saying no to some stuff, because I'm one of them that I think I'm a bit like yourself, Dean, and like Leon was. I'll try and say yes to everything. And then sometimes you forget about the most important things and you're only doing stuff half-hearted instead of I would do everything is I would do anything. I would do anything is I would do everything, Leon.
Nailed it.
Yeah, innit? And so sometimes you've got to say no to certain things so you can give 100% to the other things, and you prioritise and set time for your family and your friends, No,
I agree. And I think it takes us nicely to... So, catching back up, so what we're trying to achieve, what does success look like, if you like, number one. Number two, where do I fit in? Number three, what are my boundaries and my resources, what I've got access to? Number four, and I like this one, and we never want to ask this one, when we are successful, what's in it for me? I remember asking you that question, you just looked at me blank, didn't you? You know, what's in it for me? And this isn't just about money, because not everyone's always motivated by money, but this is more about sense of purpose, sense of contribution. And I always remember employing someone many moons ago, and this was before remote working. And when I asked him at Trading the Vision what we're doing, what's in it for me, one of the big things was he'd never taken his children to school. So I said, well, if I can make your job role and focus around this, you know, because we didn't have this massive salaries, we couldn't afford the massive at that point, but I could make it happen where twice a week he could do that as long as the work was done, because we had the technology to do it. I could take him and pick him up and spend some quality time. And it wasn't so fixed on a 9 to 5, it was outcomes. That's what we try and do, outcomes, right? So it's trying to be resourceful like that, because it's not always. I've been in businesses where it was all about money and we pay, but people, there's no sense of purpose. We want to be part of something, and it's not all just about that. We want respect, we want a voice, don't we?
I agree 100%. Well, I think from my side, I've never been money orientated. For me, it's basically showing, like I have done over the years to where I am now, but I've shown you how hard and committed I am to the organisation. And I think that, for me, gives me a little bit of freedom, if you like. So, like, last night, for example, we was going to do a podcast, but I said to you, look, Esme's at swimming lessons at 5:30. I need to shoot off 10 minutes early. Cool, not a problem.
No, but I said to you, you went, I can move it. You said to me, and I'm like, no, you're not. And he said, it's in way. Just get it done.
So, and it's just that. It's like, you know, Leon rings me on a weekend and we've got a problem. I know he'd pick up and vice versa if we could. It's for me, I like that side of things. I like we've got a great culture and a great team, but we've also got the freedom to do things that we need to do. We all make sure the work's done, and I like that little bit of flexibility. But like you say, some people are driven by money.
It's having that balance. And it's like that age-old adage, you know, money will make you happy or healthy, but it gives you choices, right? So it's not a bad thing. Money's a good thing, and as long as you understand that, you should love people and use money, not love money and use people, and that's where a lot of people get that wrong. I would say. And then lastly, number 5 on these 5 questions of clarity: how am I doing? And I think that's such an interesting question, because if you're doing that personally, you need to go find an accountability partner, or maybe a life coach or a good friend, but not someone who just listens to you and agrees with you. And it's back to that head mentality, like I said to you before. Yeah. The challenge is sometimes when you're, and you've experienced this, Paul, and I know you have as well, and I have, is when you start doing things for the greater good of a company and organisation that you believe in, because you see the future and it fits into your life in different ways, and it's not all about hourly, you're doing it for a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
You buy into that vision, like the Man Club. We work for free for the Man Club, don't we? And we put all these time and hours because we just believe in the mission, the vision, the purpose, the core values, everything it's doing, and we give up our time, our resources completely for free, right? So it's not about the money, right? But the key part is we need to know how we're doing, and we need to be challenged constructively, because I remember when I went to set up the Man Club and asked loads of people to help me, there was loads of people who told me not to do it. Loads of people told me, what are you giving your time up for that for? There was a million reasons I got told not to do it, right? But you got to understand is you'll never get criticised by people doing more than you. Yeah. You'll only get criticised by people doing less than you.
Doing less.
You get it? Yeah. Anything, want to add anything on them 5 questions? Because that's where I was going to go.
No, I think when you're passionate about something, it can be like what we do with the Man Club. It's business, and like Dean with Think Cloud. When you're passionate about something, you don't have to ask somebody to do the extra mile. You don't have to ask to do it because they're passionate about it. I do it because, like you say, I believe in it and I'm passionate about it. And I always say Andy's Man Club's part of my DNA now, because I love it. And doing what I do for a living, I think I'll never work a day in my life again, because I absolutely love every day. And it's took me 36 years to get up and find a job that I absolutely love, that I don't go, oh no.
Colonel Sanders, I think he was 20 in his 70s.
Oh, well, there you go. KFC, there you go. I beat him.
You beat him.
I beat him.
No, but I think that's it. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you're right. Like you mentioned, pandemic, we just said about our targets, what we've hit and smashed. It goes back to the team, doesn't it?
Team, yeah.
We absolutely grafted during that pandemic, and I think coming back in and just everybody pulling together, the culture of the team.
Put back into the business, we made sure everyone was aligned salary-wise. We've got bigger offices, better tools, we just invested in more people.
Yeah. Everyone's aligned to the vision of the business, and everybody wants it to grow, and I think that's been huge. Obviously, the strategy is out there. We've got the goals, what we're trying to achieve, but I think we've got a great team to do it.
I think the massive plus for you guys is the culture.
Yeah.
The culture, because obviously I share a bit of office space in here and I see everything that goes on, and I just think the culture's absolutely fantastic, because I've been in loads of organisations. I've worked with other companies. I've worked at other companies. And I saw poor culture, and I think the culture here is absolutely fantastic. So credit to all of you.
No, but I think the thing is, I'm going to close on the book I was reading from John Maxwell again. Though there was 3 key points. I thought it's what perfect timing. We're reading our vision, we're looking at it, and I thought. He just pops up and he says, what we've got to do as leaders. And I thought, right, I'm writing these down. I'm going to share these, right? So this is for me and you to both remember, all 3 of us remember. But insight 1, he said, was share your vision with your team. So strong leaders have strong visions, but also what I think is more important than that is what's really nice now, when we first sat down and did the vision, like 3 or 4 years ago, it was my idea on the head. Yeah. And I didn't know if it was going to work. What's happened now is it's become all of our vision. Because we do the 4 helpful lists, we do all different things. It's taking its own thing on, which I'm super excited about this time. So we've got to share that. We've got to get an alignment. So number 2, he says, make sure we're transparent with your team. So we've just mentioned our business plans on our internet straight away. Yeah. It's there, it's in draft. We're going to have a level 10 on it. We're going to seek feedback on it. And if anyone doesn't agree, everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got a voice on it. So huge on that. And number 3, which I think fits in really nice with where we was going with this, is step 3 says empower your employees by teaching them.
Yep.
And I thought, what a weird time to read that book after doing this session. So that's me checking out, and unless anyone wants to add anything, but it's been an awesome podcast, boys.
No, I've enjoyed this one. It's good.
Yeah, brilliant podcast. I enjoyed it.
Cheers, boys. That's Leon checking out.
Paul checking out.
It's Dean checking out.
Welcome to The Hack, the straight-talking smart tech podcast where we discuss the ever-changing world we live in today. It's time to start thinking differently. So tune in and buckle up for some home truths as Hull and East Yorkshire's very own digital tech experts talk transformation and change, focusing on people, process and technology. about your business IT. Let's face it, it's impossible to grow a business without digital technology. Now more than ever, with everything going on in the world right now, businesses are struggling to manage, protect, and work in the cloud. Transform your business IT with expert support from ThinkCloud. Learn how the most successful businesses in your sector consistently generate up to 20% higher revenues at 30% lower costs. You've come this far. You got this. Check out www.think-cloud.co.uk and book a call today.